Hey, it's Obi Chukuma Space and Equity. We're all about increasing assets and creating new space. We're here today to talk about Field of the Boardroom, the Black Tech Series, and we're blessed with 27-year-old founder Jonathan Sidwell of HBCU Hub. Tell me, at 27, how do you get the gall to start your own organization? And tell us what HBCU Hub is.
Okay, so starting off a bit with that, so we are the world's first application that's available on Android and Apple that connects high school students and transfer students to admissions recruiters at HBCUs all across the country.
If you had to summarize, what do HBCUs have to offer that is of value to our community and of value to the world at large? Because we often influence the world at large, but specifically, how does it empower the Black community?
You put me on the spot there. I would say, if I had to summarize it, HBCUs offer diversity in intellectual thought. Okay. I think a lot of the times once you take those tried and true methods, the tried and true journeys, you end up with the same experience, causing you to have that same intellectual thought as everybody else.
Gotcha.
Being that HBCUs are their own unique experience, you get a diversity of thought within that boardroom.
Okay. Tech has definitely pulled back. They're the first industry to pull back in this perhaps recession that we don't want to claim as a recession. 45,000 jobs have been lost in the past 2 months as a result. Yet there's 145 jobs unfilled because the skills that are needed to fill those jobs cannot be acquired by the entities that are trying to acquire them. So tell me about that gap, and how does HBCU help perhaps bridge that? We're firing people here and we have spots to fill here in the same industry.
So that's a really good question. I think that's part of why this event is so important as well. And how HBCU Hub helps with that is it's our mission to build technology that closes the opportunity gap. Okay. We can't close that opportunity gap unless we have the proper data on all these candidates, what their skills are, what their areas of focus are, and how they can contribute to a corporation, and then connect them with a proper corporation. It's all about networking when it comes down to it, even from a company perspective as well. If you're looking for certain skill sets, advertise that you're looking for those skill sets, and then go where those skill sets are at. And sometimes that's hard to figure out. Sometimes you may have to talk to an OB. Sometimes you may have to go to a conference, but that's what's needed for the exposure on both sides of the platform, both the candidate side and the employer side.
What made you say, yes, OB, we want to participate in this event in Charlotte, North Carolina, October 6th through the 8th? What stood out to you?
A lot of it had to do with the pivot that we're making as an organization. Okay. So our primary client used to be schools and HBCUs, higher education institutions, but last year, all of our revenue came from corporations. So once we saw that and we looked at our income statement, you go where the money goes. And corporations have a big emphasis right now in DEI efforts, but none of them know where to go. HBCUs produce over 85% of Black judges, over 80% of Black doctors, over 75% of African-American dentists. Okay. So that being the case, if we're collecting all this information on students going into HBCUs, we're collecting information on the cream of the crop when it comes to diversity candidates. So that's what made us say, you know what, this is something that we have to be a part of, because we're not only connecting students to schools, but we're connecting them to beyond, and you all is where that beyond comes in.
Charlotte, North Carolina, October 6th through the 8th. We're calling it the Tech Series, and we're doing it in tech where there's been so much pullback, but guess what? The economy goes in cycles. You still have professionals coming out into the workplace that need relationships, whether it's corporate-wise as an employee or corporate-wise as a vendor. You still have unfilled jobs of 145,000, even though we've had a shutdown on jobs of 45,000. Eventually, this is going to cycle back around. The need is going to be there. So we want to make sure that the stakeholders are in the room together and they get to know each other, because people do business with who they have a relationship with and ultimately who they like. It's hard to like somebody if you don't know them. We're putting those folks together. NASA's going to be in the room. They're going to have Microsoft. We have partnerships with people at Microsoft that will be in the room. We're going to have other Urban Yard, which is a private Black-owned tech firm, will be in the room. It's very important to get to know folks, to get yourself exposed, and this is a way to do it. So Jonathan, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.